Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on something we all depend on every single day, but probably don't think about too much: the supply chain. We're going to explore how companies are shifting from, well, basically fighting each other to actually working as a team, and why that change really matters to all of us. All right, let's dive in. So, you know the feeling, right? You walk into a store, you're on a mission for that one thing you absolutely need, and you get to the aisle only to find an empty shelf. It's super frustrating, and honestly, it seems to happen all the time. But what is really going on behind the scenes that causes this? Well, a lot of the time, the culprit is something we can call a supply chain standoff. And that name is perfect because it really gets to the heart of the issue. It's a total breakdown in teamwork between all the different companies that make, move, and sell the stuff we buy. So, what exactly is this standoff? In a nutshell, it's what happens when partners in the supply chain, say the company making the product and the store selling it, just don't talk to each other. They're not aligning their goals. They're each working in their own little bubble. And the result? It's chaos that leads directly to that empty shelf. And what's really fascinating here is how all these symptoms are connected, like a chain reaction. Poor communication, that leads to terrible forecasts about how much product people are actually going to buy. And that, in turn, causes one of two problems. Either you get shortages, or, almost worse, you get a huge surplus of stuff that just goes to waste. So at the end of the day, nobody wins. The customer's upset, and both the retailer and the manufacturer lose out on sales. But here's the good news. It doesn't have to be this way. We're starting to see this big shift toward a totally new playbook, one that's actually built on collaboration. So let's check out two key strategies that are changing the game and building a much smarter system. This really breaks down the two main ways to do it. On one side, you've got vendor-managed inventory, or VMI. That's kind of like the supplier stepping up and saying, hey, don't worry, I've got this, let me handle it for you. Then on the other side, you have this big one, collaborative planning, forecasting, and replenishment. We'll just call it CPFR, which is much more like partners saying, okay, let's figure this out together. So let's take a closer look at VMI first. In this setup, the supplier, the folks who actually make the product, get direct access to the retailer's inventory data. And using that real-time info, they take over the job of making sure the right amount of their product is always on the shelf, ready for you to buy. And this is a genuine win-win situation. The supplier wins because they can guarantee their products are always available, and they can spot which items aren't selling so well and adjust. The customer, in this case the retailer, wins because it means less work for their buyers, way fewer errors, and a much faster flow of goods. Honestly, it just makes sense for everyone. Okay, now for that other model, CPFR. This one is all about deep collaboration. Imagine the retailer and the manufacturer sitting down at the same table, digitally speaking. They share all their most important data, sales numbers, upcoming promotions, current inventory levels, everything they need to build one single unified plan together. You can think of it like a team huddle right before a big game. The retailer shares its point of sale data, basically what's actually selling at the cash register right now. The manufacturer takes that and compares it with their own production capacity. Then they work together to smooth out any wrinkles and lock in a final plan. This is how you prevent those nasty surprises, like a sudden shortage or a warehouse full of stuff nobody wants. Okay, so these strategies sound great in theory, right? But how do companies actually know if they're, working? That's where key performance indicators, or KPIs, come into play. It's basically how they keep score. And one of the most important KPIs is something called inventory turnover. Put simply, this measures how fast a company is selling its products and replacing them. The way they figure it out is by dividing the total cost of the goods they sold by the average value of the inventory they had on hand. So why does this number matter so much? Well, as this quote from the source material puts it, a higher turnover number is a really good thing. It means products aren't just sitting on a shelf collecting dust, they're moving fast, and that translates directly into better cash flow for the business. But here's the thing, what counts as high is completely relative. This chart shows that perfectly. In the dairy industry, where things expire quickly, the turnover is way up at 23. Now, compare that to the auto industry, which is down at 4.8. You would not want your local car dealership to have the same turnover as the milk aisle. So context is absolutely everything.
To really see this in action, let's look at a quick case study of a company called Ned's Food Supply. They provide food to restaurants, and they decided to track their inventory turnover to see if they were getting any better.
2 years ago, their inventory turnover was 9.22. That was their starting point, their baseline. Not terrible, but they knew they could do better. And they did. Just last year, they managed to boost that number all the way up to 10.64. And what's so important to get here is that this isn't just a number on a spreadsheet. It means they were way more efficient, their cash flow got better, and most importantly for their customers, it meant they were delivering much fresher food. That's a huge win.
A metric that's closely related to this is called days of supply. This tells you exactly how many days' worth of product you're holding at any given time. And for this one, a lower number is definitely better. It's a clear sign that your products are moving efficiently, from the warehouse straight to the customer. But here's where the conversation gets even more interesting. Today, just being fast and efficient, it isn't quite enough. The really great companies are building supply chains that are also socially responsible. It's about winning, but winning with a conscience. And this idea of responsibility is really built on 6 key pillars, what's known as corporate social responsibility, or CSR. And it covers the whole shebang, from how a company is run internally to its impact on the planet, its people, and the community around it. So, in the real world, what does this look like? Well, organizationally, it means companies set clear goals for CSR and even train their suppliers on it. And on the ethics side, it means creating a level playing field. For example, by having a strict rule against accepting gifts from suppliers, just to make sure the selection process is always fair and square. This responsibility also has to extend to our planet and to people. Environmentally, that might mean using recycled packaging or pushing suppliers to cut down on waste. And when it comes to human rights, which is absolutely critical, it means guaranteeing equal opportunity and protecting the legal rights of every single worker in that entire supply chain. And finally, CSR covers health and safety and society as a whole. At the very least, this means making sure working conditions are safe. But the best companies go even further, looking beyond their own walls to do things like developing local suppliers or getting involved in community charity work. It's really just about being a good neighbor. Which really brings us to our final big picture question. We started this whole conversation by looking at how collaboration makes supply chains faster and more efficient. But as we've seen, the conversation is shifting to something much bigger. It's about ethics, about people, about the planet. So maybe the real question we should be asking ourselves is this: is the future of business not just about being faster, but about being fairer too?